Good morning, everyone. So welcome to the Coffee Break Chat. I'm James. I assume most of you know me because I've been doing this for a few weeks now. And everybody that's subscribed, I'd like to go ahead and thank you now, and hope you enjoy this show. I see Gwen joined us without audio or video yet, but hopefully we can get Gwen to jump in to the conversation. Today's coffee break chat is about civility, how placating can lead to war. There's a lot of talk about. Oh, it's Meg, not Gwen. Sorry. Um, there's a lot of talk about civil war lately, and what could happen in the next few weeks and or months leading up to and just after the election, where hopefully we will replace our executive branch with a new leader. But other than that, there's a lot happening in the real world. Not just us here talking heads on the internet or on, the news on broadcast television. Not just us talking about it, not just folks, saying stuff that they hope will be provocative. It is an actual threat right now. There was recently a spate of firings in the North Philly area where the cops were supporting the members of the Proud Boys and other hate organizations going out and quote unquote defending their neighborhood. And I wanted to bring up a copy of one of those flyers and show you. But while I do that, it's nothing much to look at. It's pretty, the KKK recruits. They've been doing it for decades, and they've done it the same way all the time. They have a couple of very well-known contact entry points, and I'm not going to do them the service of putting those contact entry points out there for them, but they have email address, they have a website, they have a telephone number, and there's nothing that anyone can do to remove that from reality. Like, we can't stop folks from having those things. So what do we do? How do we not placate? How do we stop hate speech, but allow for folks to express themselves, allow for things like this broadcast where I'm likely to say something, that might offend somebody else. What's the difference between offending and hate speech? What's the difference between when you feel a twinge of guilt versus when you feel directly under attack? Just to answer my own question, the difference is just that. There's a difference between feeling guilty that somebody called you out on something that you actually do versus somebody threatening your life for being some sort of way. Folks are constantly comparing Black Lives Matter and the KKK. It's not a valid comparison, folks. I don't care who you are. It doesn't. The two are not the same thing. Um, Somebody posted a good quote to me. It is not light that we need, but fire. It is not the gentle shower, but thunder. We need the storm, the whirlwind, the earthquake. That's Frederick Douglass, in case you don't know who that is. Um, so yeah. Hey Cheryl, how you doing? Cheryl's still in the process of joining. Good morning.
Good morning.
How's it going?
So far, so good.
Good.
Still early.
I've been talking about Civil War.
Hmm.
Folks are starting to think there might be a civil war or um, violence after the election or before January.
Hmm.
And I don't want I want to not downplay that because it could be accurate.
Right.
And some of the things that some of the indicators out there make it a little bit more worrisome. So
Yeah, it's the mobilization and traveling to other cities just to protect businesses and things like that that have me worried.
yeah, use big square quotes when you say protect.
Like, we know what you're protecting. You're protecting your right to be a white supremacist. Like, you're not protecting those businesses.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah. Yeah, I'm looking for it right now. I don't know how I lost because it came to my attention like almost a week ago now. Not quite. It
mhm.
was on like Friday. I got I got a somebody shared with me a picture of a flyer from the recruiting for the KKK that they got in their railing. You know, like somebody was out
Hmm.
flyering, and this was up in North Philly.
Interesting.
So you know, up there where the cops are okay with you know people beating people with bats.
Yeah, it's really, I mean, I guess we've been saying it for years that the KKK has infiltrated the, law enforcement. And now we actually see that it's quite proven. And what can you do about it now? It's like, it's not a few bad apples. It's literally like every piece of it. People who are in charge.
Yeah, and how can we end that without like fully defunding the organizations um, that have sprouted up to support white supremacy, basically.
Right. And without looking like you're all for, outlaws. Like, it's not that we're out for outlaws. I mean, we have outlaws in the police force. Um, we just don't want them to be white supremacists. And I
Yeah,
think you had said it before, like, the police don't show up to prevent crime. They show up after it happens. So know your role kind of thing, you know?
yeah, yeah. How do we stop folks from like how not just know your role, but like the folks that are supporting the police and supporting the police state. How do we explain like it's not about a few bad apples. It's not like you said. It's not a few bad apples. It's a bunch of people. How do we you know teach people that the I don't even know how to word it that you know, like the whole methodology, the whole system of policing in North America is broken.
Right.
really throughout most of the world.
But mostly in North America. I mean, you and I and most of us have traveled to other countries, and you see how it is, and you're like, wow, we really could be different. We could be different for a whole lot of things, not only to law enforcement, but it's it wasn't. I mean, it's made to police a certain group of people. It's not made to do what it says it's supposed to do, serve and protect or whatever.
Right. It doesn't do what it says on the box.
Right. I don't recommend this product. It's like just, false
Yeah.
advertisement.
So I found the flyer, and I'm going to bring it up on screen, but I'll also
Okay.
share it with you. Uh, Hang on a second. There it is. Share it via the chat here. So yeah, it's a couple of, ironically, AK-47s
Hmm.
surrounding the words, "We must secure the existence of our people and a future for white children." Um, I mean,
Wow.
if
Oh yeah.
you
Oh yeah.
if you just got rid of the for white children, you might actually get a couple of radical leftists to join this organization.
Yeah. Wow.
So yeah, um yeah, I don't know what to do about this kind of stuff.
And so, back in the day when the civil rights movement was going very strong, they had FBI, basically following Malcolm X and Martin Luther King and anybody else who was kind of against whatever. And we know they didn't really investigate the KKK. Are they at this point investing the KKK? Like, are they not telling, like, are they onto something and not telling us, or are they just really only worried about Black Lives Matter?
Well, they spent a lot of the 80s and 90s investigating hate groups in the U.S.
Hmm.
And doing some really good work around investigating hate groups in the
Yep.
U.S. Um, and it was thought that they had brought most of that to heel,
Hmm.
and so what's up? I I think Jay's losing connection.
No.
Probably really wants to say something and like can't. It's like the worst. It's like,
Yeah.
and all you have to do, kids, is, and then he goes out.
Well, so something that I don't know if I touched on it last week or not, but the FBI actually came and knocked on my door. Um, so yeah, that was a little interesting of a day. Um,
Really?
Yeah, I'm in the
yeah, they I think they thought they found like an Antifa super soldier or something like that. Um,
Aw,
you
that's
know,
so sweet.
yeah, they were. I was heartened. I was like, wow, I didn't know I was making that much of an impact. I really appreciate it.
Yeah,
It's
look at
almost
that.
almost a compliment. Um, but they were asking me if I had seen any organized calls for violence. And it was like, yes, not the ones you're looking
Right, like,
for,
have you
though.
not? Like,
Uh, Perhaps not
wow.
what you're thinking, but yes, I have seen organized calls for violence. I pointed them in a couple of directions, but yeah, it would be
Mhm.
good if the FBI started investigating this kind of stuff again.
And the FBI really never tells you what they're investigating until they make arrests. So, holding out hope that there'll be some arrests made, but however, not too not too optimistic about it.
Yeah, not super optimistic about it myself. Um, Also, the Proud Boys are having a rally, and started putting out their. So the Proud Boys operate a little bit more modernly. They actually use social media and stuff. Um,
You said the Cowboys?
Proud Boys.
Oh, the Proud Boys. Oh, okay.
Yeah, I'm talking politics, not football.
Okay.
I was gonna
Same
say, like,
difference.
you know, I have my Eagle stuff here if you need it.
No.
I mean, you know, we can talk about the Cowboys,
Nah.
and but no, the Proud Boys. They're having a march for history and end the violence. Take a stand against domestic terrorism and protect Italian heritage. Ooh,
Wow.
That's like the patriotic.
there's
You're
a lot
protecting
to
the
unpack there,
heritage
boy. Let me tell you.
and, you know, not the
Yes.
American heritage, and the American dream and all of that melting pot, you know,
Um,
bull that, you know, we've known.
yes, because Italians are definitely under attack right now. Oh my God.
Yeah. And then I'm pretty sure they're going to show up with guns and bats. So that whole, you know, non-violent thing. And
Uh-huh.
yeah, that ought to be interesting. When is that?
The 26th
Mm.
in South Philly.
Oh yeah, that'll be friendly.
Oh yeah, that'll be great. Apparently, a friend of mine went to the protest organized by Jody Della Barbara and Vic Della Barbara, and this one was the one supporting the QAnon theories, and they said that everybody was on their best behavior, just really focusing on kidnapped children. And I didn't think of it at the time, but I'm like, well, what about all the children in cages down near the border? Are you going to get them out too?
Right. Because technically they
So
are kidnapped.
Yeah.
And whether it's legal or illegal, they're still kidnapped and not with who they should be. And that's their parents, family, aunts, uncles, grandparents.
I mean, it's just as bad as I don't know if y'all know Canadian history very well, but it's just as bad as the Canadian government from basically its founding till even almost right now. Um, there's a history of taking children of native families and adopting them out of the family,
Hmm.
wow.
saying that the family can't take care of them. It's similar to some of the stuff that happens with black families in the U.S., but not quite.
Right now.
Yeah,
Right.
there's a little bit more focused government participation on that in Canada, and but we're doing the same. I mean, it is one of the elements of genocide, literal genocide. Like if you look up the definition of genocide according to the UN, what we're doing on our southern border is genocide. What we're doing in
Yep.
this city, or what we're proposing to do in this city to homeless people in encampments, is genocide.
Mm-hmm.
It's just how
If it if it affects them, if the majority of the population that it affects is brown, it's perfectly fine. Perfectly
well.
fine to detain, enslave, bomb, eviscerate, hang, whatever nasty thing you can do. As long as most of them are brown or poor and not of royal blood or blue blood, perfectly fine. Perfectly fine. Collateral damage.
Right.
It's perfectly fine.
I'm really getting in the habit of not overthinking what stuff is. If it affects people that look like me and you, perfectly fine. Let's just call a spade a spade. It's perfectly fine. Are they broke?
So
Okay.
I guess the question also is, what are other cities doing? So the shirt I have on right now is from a t-shirt shop that was on Haight and Ashbury, and there's a large homeless population there. is the same thing happening in San Francisco that's happening in Philly? Is it happening, in other places, or is it just kind of localized to certain places?
Well, San Francisco had a problem before the pandemic. They had a huge homeless district, like a homeless encampment district, where it was a couple of blocks worth of like underpass that had basically people in a tent encampment there. I don't know exactly how they ended that, but it did end before the pandemic.
Do they have a section where they're allowing people to do drugs without any arrest being made, like Philadelphia has?
Right. Don't fuck with Kensington, but let's go ahead and
It's not even being talked about. My photography studio is on Jasper Street, and it's the Walking Dead in the entire surrounding neighborhood. And there's police mini stations there. There's cop station there. Unless you're fighting, you see hand to hands and all kinds of drug deals and drug use all day long, and the cops are just sitting there chilling.
I drove up.
Also, probably genocide, like just let you kill yourself.
Yeah, that is kind of
when crack was out, man.
Well, we know who bought that in here.
Oh yeah, we know. If there's a hell, I hope him and his wife are there. Pretty much.
Yeah, say no to drugs, my ass. Say no to drugs unless it supports your illegal police actions.
Exactly.
Wow.
In case any, so this is a black community, primarily centered in the black community. We hold this opinion. Well, not I shouldn't say we, because the black community is pretty diverse in its opinion, contrary to what Joe Biden says. But
I had a friend of mine that didn't believe it. I don't believe Ronald Reagan did that. I said, you don't believe Ronald Reagan did that? I said, for real? Okay.
I mean, it's been documented.
Here's the article, since you don't believe it, because I pulled it up in Ebony and Jet Magazine. Here's the article in the New York Times. Do you believe me now? Oh, then there may be some standing. I said, wait.
Oh, so you trust that?
Because it's here and not there, you believe it. And I said, get out my house, man. I said, you gotta go. I said, you my man, 100 grand. I know you're third grade, but right now you have to leave. I can't even look at you right now. And I kicked him out. I'm not even playing. I said, you gotta go. Why? I said, because the things I want to say to you will end our friendship. So it's better that you leave right now.
Yeah.
I'm that with this issue. I know too many people that died because of, I said, I lost people in my family over crack cocaine. I lost friends over crack cocaine. So this really hits home with me. When I found out Reagan was responsible, I wanted to kill him myself. So yeah, I said, you have to go right now. You have to go right now. Bye. We're still friends, but you gotta leave right now. You gotta leave right now.
So just to finish elucidating for those that don't understand this, there were trials of a man who is now back in politics, a man who ran this country's government-backed program to sell arms to rebels in Nicaragua and to fight Manuel Noriega. They were basically trying to destabilize an entire other country on the DL. Try and destabilize this other country. But when you're trying to do something on the DL in the government, you can't exactly just put that as a line item budget item in what Congress is gonna vote on next year. So what the Reagan administration actually did, and there's no doubt or question about this, people were prosecuted for it, they were found guilty for it, they admitted it, they signed documents that said that they did this. The Reagan administration made deals with drug cartels to sell drugs in cities in the U.S. in specific neighborhoods that they lined out and said, we will not prosecute you if you bring drugs to these neighborhoods, and we will take a cut just like any other drug dealer or kingpin, and we will protect you in these neighborhoods. And for that, you get to sell the drugs, we get the money, and then we take that money, buy guns, and give them to you. Just so everybody knows.
Right. Everybody lives happily ever after. Like, well, at least they did.
So this
unless you're an underling, then you get 20 years for like an ounce of crack.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Or I mean, it ruins your life by you're getting addicted to it.
Well, yeah.
This
is where in order to make this successful, this is why drug use is like they continued the Nixon administration's criminalization of being a drug user. Mm-hmm. In the past, from the founding of this country, from before the founding of this country, all the way up to the 60s, being a drug user wasn't illegal. It wasn't something that was a fault of the person. Well, it was considered a vice, but it wasn't, it wasn't something we threw you in jail for. We just said, hey,
knew that was that aunt that, drank wine and put Vicodin and stuff in it, like
yeah, no, we just said, as a country, we said, hey, use all the drugs you want, just don't murder anyone or, get in a car accident.
Right. And it's kind of crazy because, what would have the inner cities been like if drugs weren't just basically dropped off?
Awesome. They were awesome.
They would have been, more like what they were, in the 50s, 60s, 70s, early 70s.
Before crack hit, my neighborhood, Southwest Philadelphia, was warm. It was nice. You can have block parties that spanned 5 blocks long. Some of those parties blocked sector routes, and nobody cared. It was absolutely an amazing place to live. And then crack exploded like a nuclear weapon. There's just no other way to describe it.
Now they
talk about absolute devastation.
Right.
Absolute devastation.
But now they want to complain about the inner city and how it's filled with drugs and gangs and violence and robbings. Well, this is what happens.
And just to be explicit again, you'll notice during this conversation that we are speaking, Cheryl and Jay and I are speaking in almost a shorthand. There's a lot of sentences that we're like ending halfway through because we all know this stuff. We live this stuff. But just to be explicit again for my viewers who don't know this stuff, this has been targeted. These effects are targeted. There was redlining. There was a definition of a black neighborhood from the 50s all the way through. Even now, there's still some element of redlining. I don't know how many racist ass realtors I've run across in the last 6 months. It's at least 5 or 6 that I've because of Black Lives Matter, you can figure out who all these people are now because they'll post some bullshit about all lives matter. But if you're a racist realtor, you still think that certain people belong in certain neighborhoods. Mm-hmm. And you look at me, and you look at Cheryl, and you look at Jay, and you go, hey, here,
here's a nice house you would love.
Yeah.
People like you.
Yeah. And we're like, no, we got this much budget. This is what we want. And you try and direct us to some house in some specific neighborhood. That's not the way it's supposed to work. But it's the way it still does work.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Actually, it's funny because when I was buying this house about 4 years ago, I specifically picked a black woman as my realtor. So, we're kind of going through and, we're looking at house after house. And when I put in an offer on this house, she was like, I've got to tell you, their realtor asked if you were serious about your offer.
Wow.
And I'm like, I'm fucking dead serious. Like, I got fucking cash.
Wow.
Like I wouldn't put in an offer if I wasn't planning on buying.
Money?
Right. And I, you know, maybe he thought like, okay, after I put down my 20%, you know, would I be able to, number one, afford to live in this house?
Wow.
Or,
Oh,
you know, whatever. Would I back out at the last minute or something?
Hey, Cheryl, we don't have a layaway plan.
Like, yo, can I get this house in layaway?
One of my favorite parts in Boomerang. I love that part in Boomerang when they're in the suit shop. We don't have a layaway plan. We don't keep cash in the store. Like, what the fuck?
Motherfucker,
I'm gonna buy it. You think I'm gonna buy it, stank it up, and then bring
like
the
that
suit
for
back?
buying a house. It was definitely like that for buying a house. He pretty much, you know, and it was a white couple who had been here for 38 years, and you know, it was.
Can you afford this house? So it reminds me of the meme that came out recently, and it was it's just a couple of pictures of houses and real estate stuff, but the text is, you know, you don't believe, you know, mortgage companies don't believe that I can afford a house that's a $750 a month payment on a mortgage, but I've been paying $1,500 a month in rent for the same thing.
No.
And then they do that.
Speaking of appraisals, like there was an article just recently about the biracial couple that had like their one appraisal was one price, and then when they removed all the pictures of all the Black family members, it was a different price. I definitely think that's what my parents have gone through. Like my dad built a house with his bare hands, like literally built this house. It's got 6 bedrooms, three bathrooms. It originally priced for like almost $400,000 right when he was finished building it. So there was nothing really in it. And now that they have their pictures up, they've had it reappraised, and now it's all of a sudden, you know, $200 and something thousand. And I'm like, wait a minute, when you first finished building it, it's not like it would drop in price, you know, over these years. Like you've got extra bedrooms.
So
you've got
I want to tell
acres of land.
I want to tell Black families there's a trick to this, right? There are people you can hire to dress your house for appraisal or for sale pictures, and they will come in. They will move all of your stuff out. They will put very generic, very white bread stuff in, and make sure no like elements of like hominess are there.
So I can't leave my Good Times collections up in the corner.
Yeah. No, they'll put that in the garage. Okay.
Nope. Gotta have it all in the family out there.
Oh.
Gotta switch it.
My bad. Family ties. My bad.
There are people that will do this, and they don't charge a lot, and usually the increase in appraisal value is worth about 10 times what they charge to come in and dress your house.
But you shouldn't
have. These same people don't work for companies like HM and let them know, listen, if you do that, you're going to piss Black people off. You sure? I'm sure. Don't listen. The little boy with the monkey shirt, cut that. Like, cut that right now. They gonna hurt you bad.
Don't even make the shirt.
They gonna hurt you bad. Don't even make the shirt. You sure? But they like monkeys. Don't say that out loud. Don't do that.
Right. No watermelon, fried chicken, no nothing.
No. How about the dancing raisins? No, we know what that meant.
Nope.
Don't do that shit.
The dancing raisins.
Paul Mooney covered that extensively. Don't do that. We didn't like the raisins dancing. How about the WB frog? No, God damn it, stop.
Woo, digital blackface. I tell you.
Yeah. WB. Oh man, that shit
Michigan
pissed Dave Chappelle off.
Yes.
It's Dave Chappelle. He said, fuck that frog.
I wanted to tell you guys about a little scam that I got that happened to me that I didn't know existed until it just happened to me. I think 2020 is really out to get me. Like, not just everyone.
Not just in general, but like...
Yeah. So... my birthday was the 30th. On the 31st, I got rear-ended at that
Oh,
stupid
no.
ass intersection at Grays Ferry and 39th Street, where it's always super slick because there's a gas station there and there's a red light camera, and the red light camera causes people to stop real quick, so I stopped really quick, and then I got hit from behind by another driver. And I don't blame the other driver. Like, it's super slick there, and there's a red light
Right.
camera. Anyway, that red light camera, first of all, that's on my list of. And there's a lawyer in Philly who has literally destroyed that red light camera like 3 times. But I really like the guy. I want to meet him. But I think that red light camera is super dangerous. But then somebody shipped me, I don't have it up here, but shipped me a solar charging backup battery for a cell phone.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, is this like a birthday present? Somebody forgot to put their name on it or something? And then the next day, I got 2 more packages with a bunch of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, okay, this is getting weird now. And so they're all Amazon packages. So I called Amazon, and somebody had created an account in my name with my address and with one of my credit cards.
Wow.
Oh.
So somehow somebody got a hold of my one credit card's information, got my address, related the two, and then created an Amazon account where they ordered stuff and shipped it to me.
So
Where'd they go, Amazon?
were they planning to come and get it? Like if it was delivered to your house and you weren't home, like be the porch pirate for their own stuff?
Yeah, so it's called
You wouldn't
brushing.
be expecting it either. Right. Wow.
It's called brushing, and there's a couple of ways the scam can work. Yeah, people could come by, like, you know, if they know if it's somewhere nearby, they order stuff, and then, you know, they try and pick it up before you pick it up off your doorstep.
Mm-hmm.
And then the other way it works is a lot of the companies that are from out of the country, they produce really cheap goods. Mm-hmm. But the way to get higher on Amazon's search results is to have really good reviews. So they'll buy this stuff and then review it as a certified purchaser. And since it's somebody, you know, like since it's a real person in the U.S., it doesn't look like a scam review.
Right.
Because U.S. doesn't lie.
Mm-hmm.
That is very, very interesting.
So
I mean, that's very, very like different than people just sending random masks to you or whatever. Like they're actually like stealing your
Are y'all back?
Okay, let me find Brandon.
Okay.
I'm gonna mute you real quick, Jay.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't. Did I mute?
So
you? Yeah.
Also, like, I mean, I guess with the pandemic, most people are working from home. Like, how would they expect you to? It's kind of scary. Someone knows where you live.
Yeah, that's a little. That's one part of it that I'm a little concerned about. But I had a long ask. So first of all, Amazon needs to train its customer service people. I know they're in India, and I know, or all over the world really now, they just get really good English speakers from India or Laos or Vietnam, where, you know, they have really inexpensive labor, and set up a call center there. And that's fine to me. Like, I get it. You can do most of this stuff if you just speak good English. Right. Good enough English. But I had
Ironically, James, the same thing happened to me the day of my sister's funeral. I got 3 packages from QVC and 1 from Sears, and they were all surround sound system. And I didn't order it, and my girlfriend at the time didn't order it, and QVC came and took all of it, but Sears wouldn't take it back. I called the cops, and the cops said, keep it, because if I take it to the precinct, my captain's going to keep it, and I hate my captain.
Oh, wow.
I swear to God, dude. So I was like, so you telling me to keep this? I was like, yeah.
Oh, I didn't ask no questions. I said I didn't ask no questions. I said, okay.
Well, I looked it up on the internet just because that's what I do with stuff like this, and then I talked to Amazon, and Amazon was like, keep it, but yeah, Amazon doesn't want it back. Somebody has to pay for it, but and it's going to be Amazon, but they at least recognize the security. But the first customer service representative I talked to, he was like, he didn't understand at all what I was saying, and then I was like, look, dude, somebody shipped me a bunch of stuff without me asking for it or ordering it or paying for it. And he's like, maybe you have a secret admirer. And I'm like, no, man. That's not how that works.
Yeah, somebody in the bushes touching them stuff inappropriately. I don't want a secret admirer.
Right, it was creepy back in the 80s having a secret admirer, but it's really creepy now. Like, we do not share any of that address information with random people we don't know.
Listen, I'm a guy, and it freaks me out when someone's stalking me. Like, that freaks me out.
Yeah.
I can only imagine what women go through. I've been stalked twice, which is nothing to a woman. That's nothing. That's like, that's a Tuesday.
Yeah. It's one time was only very severe that I was like, wow, this is scary. He was stalking like me and my oldest brother. Like he knew like everybody's schedule. It was crazy. But yeah, not fun when someone knows your address. Or even your phone. Like how did you find me? Like
as I've said before, I was stalked by a certain police agency, but that was pretty scary.
Different.
They didn't buy you stuff?
No, they didn't buy me stuff, and I've been stalked by a couple other people, but it's never been super scary to me because I figure if you're stalking me and you're too scared, like you're too scared to actually like come up to me, you're not gonna do anything that's gonna injure me because you're obviously like if you're keeping yourself at arm's length with like ordering stuff to my house or something like that, you're too scared to come up to me.
Right.
No.
I'm okay with that.
Coming up to me in my house would be a mistake. I'm just gonna say that.
Yeah, no, it would be a mistake. Don't get me wrong.
I'll just say this now: you will get shot.
Yeah.
You will get shot.
All three of us are armed. All three of us on this chat are armed.
Like the
and that's another thing too. Right. And like even young, like my dad would take me out in the backyard at my grandma's house and we'd shoot targets out of the tree. Like I'm a great shot. So try it if you want to.
And I've been in situations that have made me nervous a lot more than you have. Trust me.
Yeah.
I am really good at operating under pressure. I run a broadcast.
We're artists, man. We don't freak out on pressure, buddy.
No.
And I have like backup plans to my backup plan. I have like, okay, if they come up the stairs, I'm gonna shoot through the two, things. It
will be a mistake.
Yeah, I have like little hiding spots for everything. Like if you make it up the stairs, you're lucky. But we're not gonna be tussling. I'll tell you that much.
And that's why movies make no sense when people start losing in their homes. Like where all the goodies are. Why are you losing? I'm not going to lose in my crib.
I mean, I have escape plans of like, all right, I need to get to this room and climb out this way or jump on this. I know this. If I can get, far enough, Like
who would keep a bat in the refrigerator? Jay would.
I might have to use all these skills during the Civil War, like Mad Max time. This might be the time to use all these skills.
Today's the day.
Yeah. Like, oh boy.
I literally watching you on camera. Like, do you see this? Is it? Oh, he made it past the yard.
Yeah, I'll just take it. I'll just take it onto Facebook Live. You come try and step up into my house. I'm gonna be on like
Facebook Live.
I'll be on Facebook Live kicking your ass.
Like, go James.
I've got cameras everywhere. I have a thing where like all of them will come on at the same time if I need them, or certain ones will come on if I need them. Like it will be documented what happened.
Right.
Like there
I
will
got
be no
hounds
question
with
happened.
bees in their mouths like Mr. Burns. I got everything.
Hounds with bees in their mouth.
Release the hounds.
Speaking of cameras, so I don't know if y'all have heard it. Like it's been a big topic here in South Philly. There was a guy that was found hung in Capelita Playground, a black man.
Yeah.
And you know, my normal reaction is we don't hang ourselves, especially not outside.
No.
We just don't hang ourselves.
Yeah.
We don't.
No.
So it was ruled very quickly a suicide by the cops, which so just for anybody who's watching, the reason there's a lot of why hasn't this been reported in the news? Why isn't this front page news? The reason is because news organizations are bound by a set of ethics. And the normal journalism ethics response to a suicide is not to publish the person's suicide, not to publish their name, and not to publish any information about it if it's been ruled a suicide, unless something, like it becoming a controversy about whether it's a suicide or not comes up. Then it becomes, the duty of the news to report on it. But it wasn't a big article until now because it was ruled a suicide. So once it's ruled a suicide by the cops and the news media try and downplay it because they don't. History has shown that if a suicide happens and the news reports on it, suicide rates go up in that area. So that's why it hasn't been a big news thing. Now, there is a ton of questions around whether this has been a suicide or not. So I know I personally talked to another reporter, Victor Fiorillo, and he's been investigating around this story. And trying to figure out whether it's a suicide or not, trying to figure out whether the family is actually interested in following up on this, because there's been reports that the family is interested in following up on this. There's also been reports, there's been interviews that Victor has done and other journalists have done with the family members where the family is saying, I don't want to talk about this anymore. I mean, to be fair, you're a family in crisis. You're going to probably be a little wishy-washy on talking to people.
It's a terrible thing.
Yeah. So there's been that back and forth. But one of the problems with what the police have reported, and this is where I'm going with it, is that they were unable to find any footage or evidence or images from the night of the hanging to indicate whether or not it was a suicide or a homicide. Capelito Playground, in case you don't know, has a ton of cameras around it and in it. So I went over there and took some photos. I won't share them here because I gave them to Victor for possible use in his article. But there are 2 cameras owned by the city, owned by the playground, on the parks and rec building. I assume they run 24 hours and are recorded. And they look right into that playground and right at the entrance of that playground. There are 2 cameras on a restaurant directly across the street from the entrance to the playground. There is a camera focused on the playground on a light pole that leads into a restaurant on the corner of the intersection where the playground is. There are 3 houses with security cameras focused on the sidewalk and the street, and there's a person with a Ring doorbell up the street that focuses directly out into the street and across the way. So the supposition by the PPD that they couldn't find video is bullshit.
Right. Like something had to work. And I do know, like, I had a former coworker, an employee, that she moved from Michigan to Philly. And within the first week, someone stole her tires. And she found out at that point that all the cameras along her block, even though they were city owned and, supposedly working, none of them actually worked for years, or they were never turned on. They were just there as a deterrent for crime. And of course, she still got her tires stolen, so I guess it wasn't really a deterrent. And they probably knew that the cameras didn't work, so there would be no actual footage. Yeah. So I would probably bank on that businesses having, although the business across the street from me doesn't have a camera, found that out. But maybe the business, definitely the Ring doorbell, like any other, the park, I mean, it's city-owned cameras, so they may not actually work.
Yeah, they might not actually work. I mean, I would believe that the cameras but then that's the story. Why aren't those cameras working? What, who's
Someone
They're probably working. They're probably working now that you said something. That's how Philly works. When you say something, they're working. But if you don't say anything, they're not going to work.
Like, oh snap!
We know that red light camera is malfunctioning in Southwest Philadelphia as you go towards the airport. We've known for a long time, but until you bring it to court, we're not going to fix it. Because most people don't want to go to traffic court. They don't want to take a day off. If it's a ticket under $50, you know what? I don't feel like doing. I'll pay it. So you're making thousands of dollars off a malfunction that you know happened. But with that 1 or 2 people say, hey, I'm going to raise hell if you don't fix this. Okay, we'll fix it now.
And then if it breaks, they're not going to go back and fix it. They're like, well, it was fixed. What are you talking about?
Right. And this kills me when stuff like this happens, a hanging. It's obviously a murder of another black person. And people say, well, things are so much better now. Things have changed. You people just complaining, like, prove to me that this isn't, that I'm not waking up in 1945 in Alabama. Prove it. Hangings back then, hangings now. Injustice back then, injustice. I can go on all day long. Prove it.
Yeah, I feel like we've gone into a world where, I mean, I'm living in my parents' world at this point. Like if I'm
grandparents' world,
right? But I was driving down 95 yesterday, coming home, and it was like, you see a car with the American flag and just stand for it, and you're just like, that guy will probably shoot me if he felt like I, in some way looked at him funny or said something, or like whatever, if I had something better than him. It's terrifying to just think that someone could look at you and just assume that you're not patriotic or whatever,
and kill you and get away with it.
Yes,
even if it's on video.
Yep.
I've since Adult 45 has been in office, I have literally considered not going on time to certain things. Like, a friend of ours always invites us to NHL games. And I've several times thought about being like, okay, I'm just gonna go just a little late. I can arrive in the second part of the first period and be okay. But I don't know about that whole, the whole national anthem part. I'm not sure I want to be there for that.
It is very odd, and especially after Kaepernick, it's very odd going to a sporting event, and if I don't stand or salute or whatever the fuck people want me to do, you get that look. And I give back. That exactly.
I look back.
Exactly. You know,
Yeah.
I've been, you know, to a lot of football games, a lot of baseball games, and it's very awkward. And especially since I go to a lot of things by myself, so it's very awkward when I go to things by myself and I don't stand, you know, and people look at me and I'm like, well, you're still wearing your fucking baseball cap, so you know, like there's rules and there's rules, but
I'll
yeah,
bite my
it's just,
tongue on how I feel about the flag. I'll bite my tongue.
I mean, so I'll for the last 2 minutes to rap about this. Like there's my family has been involved in the U.S. military since the Civil War.
right.
Literally, my great 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 grandfather was in the Union Army. My great grandfather was in the U.S. Army. My grandfather was in the U.S. Army. My father was in the U.S. Army. I broke the mold a little bit. I didn't go into the military.
Me too.
Yeah.
Grandfather, father, brother, uncle, a legion of cousins, aunts. I mean, every single military branch. Some of them are special forces. Some of them have been like elite soldiers. I'm good. And my grandfather was pissed. I'm like, we've done our part, Pop. I'm good.
Yeah. So my aunts, my uncle, my father, my grandfather, my grandfather and grandmother raised all these children. They had 7 children, and we were regularly on military bases because my grandfather served his full billet, had retirement, had disability from the U.S. Army because he literally lost his hearing because somebody set off a cannon when his head was like a couple inches from it. So, you know, we used military rec bases all when I was growing up. We lived near Aberdeen Proving Ground when I was growing up, so we would go on base to shop at the at the PX and at the, you know, we would use the rec facilities on base, like the pool, because it was safe. In the 80s, that's where black people could be safe shopping and could be safe going to something like a pool. Like you can go, Aberdeen is in Maryland. You can go to a public pool in Maryland and be any sort of brown. They're, you know, like people show the picture from the 60s with the guy pouring bleach into the pool with a bunch of black people in it. That was still going on in the 80s. But
it wasn't going to happen in Philly because that guy wouldn't have made it to his car.
No, but it was going on in Maryland.
That would have been a mistake, bro.
Anyway, so my aunts and uncle and grandfather and grandparents and my father are all very politically outspoken. Mostly we have it as family arguments. We don't like, you know, I'm the only one who's a broadcaster. But
that damn change.
since before I was born, my aunts have been sitting out the national anthem and have been sitting out taps and sitting out all other flag salutes on military bases in the U.S. in the South. Like,
they're right.
Because that's what my grandfather taught them. That's what my great-grandfather taught them. That's what my great-great-grandfather taught them, was that military service, the rights of freedom of speech are more important than honoring some rag.
And it's also kind of funny too, and I have to ask my dad about it, because my dad also, you know, career military and reserves for 20-something years. But my travel buddy, her dad was also career military. And she's like, did your dad ever like put the flag upside down when he puts the stamp on? And I'm like, you know what? I never noticed, but I will double check. She's like, yeah, that was like just his thing. He would always put the flag upside down. So he would always ask for stamps that weren't flags, but if they were give him one that's a flag, he would put it upside down.
That's how the flag should be flying now.
Yeah.
You know what that means, right?
In distress. It's actually, interesting. It's only applicable to U.S. flag code that means distress. But, all right, so it's 11:02. Ran a couple minutes over. Sorry for anybody who's watching who had something to get to, but...
but they can always tune in back later again, you know.
Yep, they can watch the replay.
Watch.
Yeah. But thank you guys for coming out again this fine Wednesday. Thanks for chit chatting about all this stuff. Um, we will have another broadcast next Wednesday. And at 10 a.m. Wednesdays 10 a.m. You can tune in on YouTube /Light Thief Productions. You can tune in on Facebook /Light Thief Productions /live. Feel free to like or share any of the channels or URLs. We love having folks watch and bringing this conversation to everybody. Like, not every broadcast, not every vlog, or I don't know what's the popular word for this kind of stuff.
We'll just go with that.
Yeah.
Yeah, podcast. It's not really a podcast.
Yeah, it's not really a podcast, but yeah, it could be. I guess if we just sent out just the audio. But yeah, not every program like this is centered on Black and brown voices, and so that's what I'm doing here, and what I hope everybody enjoys. And
I can't really think of one that's on major TV that's centered around us. I can't think of one.
No.
Probably not.
Oh, okay.
I'm gonna do some coverage on the homeless encampment eviction order next week. It's scheduled for the 9th, which will be the day after next week's broadcast, right? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
No, it'll be the day of next week's broadcast.
Okay.
So I'm going to do some coverage of that, and I'm going to do because the CDC just issued an order that no evictions can happen. So
good.
Rental evictions are canceled for now. So let's see if we can't get somebody to argue that homeless eviction shouldn't also be canceled.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Especially because it's going to get cold in December, so that's going to be interesting to see how that plays out.
Yep.
Even though I think everything COVID will magically go away right around election time. That's my prediction.
Well, they'll stop reporting on it.
You're right.
That's how sleazy this bowl of Jello in office is. Oh, the numbers are low now.
Well, he's trying to make it low by basically falsifying data and not reporting it. But whatever.
Yeah. Yeah, we'll talk
You
about
guys
that
said
next
bomb
week.
hurricane. We'll talk about it. But all right, y'all. I'll talk to y'all later.
All right, talk to you
All right.
later.
Yeah.
Thanks everybody for watching.